big fan of the 80s and 90s era of hip hop, and that kind of helps provide a foundation as well for like, okay, this is where we're at now. This is where it came from. I don't know if it's actually a substitute for genuine therapy, and I think I learned that, to answer your question, because I had nothing else. I was like, well, what am I going to do? I might as well like just
let me get good grades now.
Yeah, I'm in these classes with people I didn't really know. I got put in like, this is when you step up at a different part of school and you get mixed up in your classes and stuff. I was with people I didn't really know.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, whoever may be listening and watching, we are bringing you a great producer, a great rapper, by way of Luton, from North London to the wonderful Korak Studios. A man that has created 4 mixtapes, 3 EPs, 2 albums. So if you have any doubts, in his words, your doubt is cheap. He will be performing at the Korak Live Music Live Music Events, 26th of February 2026. I give you the one, the only, KaeDee. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course, anytime. So I've told people that thank you for having me humble thing needs to stop.
Okay.
As I introduce you, you being the star, you should just go, you're welcome. That's all you need to do. Just go, you're welcome.
All right, let's run it again.
I might not be able to remember everything I said, but let's just go,
yeah.
KaeDee!
You're welcome.
You've just lost like 10,000 fans. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Thank you for coming. I hope you had a good day so far.
Enjoy.
Big shout out to Caribbean Coffee, our ambassadors, and of course, Podcast Rooms for giving us this beautiful studio. KaeDee, Korak means footsteps. Okay. And each footstep explains or defines every move you're making to get to where you want to be or where you think is your destination. What was that first step you took in realizing that rap was the way forward?
First step, realizing that this is what I wanted to do.
Yes.
I feel like if I was to trace it all the way back, and I feel like this is kind of a cliche answer because so many people might attribute it to this one person. But when I was younger, and the first time I think that my dad showed me Thriller, it just like ignited something in me. And, I wasn't one for like scary type stuff like or horror or anything like that. I was obviously freaked out. I was a kid seeing like like that close up, all of that stuff, and yet I was so like hooked in still. Like, there was just something about the art of it, the power behind it, behind the dance, behind just his voice, all of that stuff. And I remember thinking in that moment like, I need to be like that. I need to do something like that. Now, no one's gonna be Michael Jackson.
Oh no, not at all. I mean, we can try. Even AI, I don't think AI.
I don't think AI can do that either.
There's no other Michael Jackson.
No, so that's a given. But I think from that point, it kind of planted this seed where I tended to imitate stuff that I enjoyed.
Do you dance too? Do you like backslide and all that stuff?
In my own time, yeah.
Okay, not on the rap stage.
No.
I mean, that'd be cool though. I
think
can just see
cool.
you, speeding for days and then doing a backslide with the mic.
Yeah,
I like
a little moonwalk afterwards. I think like Heavy D and them, they used to do stuff like that.
Oh, now that we found love.
Yeah.
Oh, that used to be the tunes those days, man. So before the Michael Jackson exposure, were you exposed to any other type of music? What was the kind of music that was being listened to in the household?
I think mainly it would have been, if I can, I can't fully remember, but like it would have been my mum and my grandma mostly in the house. So it would have been a lot of Indian music, a lot of Punjabi music. That probably would have been my initial bedrock.
You grew up in Luton?
For about the first 4 or 5 years.
Man, anybody that grows up in Luton, man, you're a great survivor. I don't know how you did it, man, but a big shout out to Luton from what I can hear. So, but
thank you.
So big shout out. But then, so you lived for about 5 years, came down to London.
Yeah, just like closer and closer, like through Essex, and then it's in the last about 5 years that I moved to London.
Well, you've been very active in terms of music. I said it's 4 mixtapes, 3 EPs, 2 albums. A lot of people actually go through their entire career and then they release that. Where has this work ethic come from? From in terms of trying to make it in the rap game, and I'm sure as well as doing other things.
Yeah.
What is the motivation that is pushing you? And I'm assuming it's not all the way from Michael Jackson that is still pushing you till today.
I mean, he's still a big influence on my life, and on my creative kind of drive. But I think throughout the years, it's probably been this kind of drive to just, I don't feel satisfied, I guess, unless I'm making something. Even just in other creative pursuits, even if it's like drawing or painting or whatever. I do a lot of that stuff too, but this has always been my main one, probably because it's using my voice, and it's using, with rap music, it's not like there shouldn't be, there's no writers between me and the final song. It's me writing the song, and that's exactly what's going on here, coming straight out.
I like that you say that. Well, I'm going to touch on that at some point about, this is a wonderful, great belief amongst rappers that, if you don't write your own music, you're not really one of us kind of story. But we'll touch on that. How did you go, though, so Michael Jackson is played, Daddy introduced you to Michael Jackson. The music touched you in a way that you decided this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
So how was KaeDee as a kid? What did you used to do? What did you used to get up to before music started taking over slowly and slowly?
I actually can't remember a lot of what it was like being a kid, but I think for me,
any particular reason?
I think it was just very chaotic growing up. Like I said, we were in Luton. We were in, I grew up in a house with like 2 other families or whatever else, my uncles, aunties, and their kids, so my cousins, on a street where around the corner there were other aunties, uncles with their kids, and because my grandma, who is the kind of matriarch of the family, wherever she is, everybody comes to.
Yeah.
So, if you hear my mum talk about it, there's no privacy in that house. It's just constant all the time. And so I think I have very few select memories of just, running around playing with my cousins who were basically like my brothers and sisters, and just all of that sort of stuff. I don't really remember what I would have been doing. I do remember drawing a lot, but I was so bad at it. But I just did it because, for the fun of it, which is probably something I could learn to do now. Just do something for the fun of it, not because I'm going to create content out of it, or, someone's going to see it, just for the sake of like art, for the sake of art. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, so I think as a kid, it was a lot of listening to music, running around, and just drawing and daydreaming, imagining. I was just like imagining stuff all the time, which I think has played kind of a part in how strong that kind of creative drive has been.
So with your music, when listening to your album, and it's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
I think you can understand the story of maybe how your life has been going and the things that you've gone through. You happen to be going to perform Korak, 26th of Feb, people, buy a ticket. Understanding your story, where does the therapy aspect come from? What do you think what's been the situation that you think has been missing so far? Because you touch on it a lot with your music. I mean, you have an EP called Sunshine Therapy, and you have 3 volumes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, volume 3 is my best, just in case you're wondering.
Thank you.
You need to sign one and give it to me.
Yeah.
But where has do you feel, has music been a baggage lifter for you?
Yeah, big time. Before I did any actual therapy, which I would suggest that everyone does, I think music has always been, and I know it sounds cliche and whatever else, but I think that's why a lot of people do it, especially MCs, because from where the art form would have come from as well, it would have come from, inner cities, black neighborhoods, poor economic conditions, etc., making something from nothing. And, there's no other way to get your voice heard. So you battle each other in the streets, but with words as opposed to with weapons. And, what else have you got? You have no access to instruments. You have no access to music lessons in school because they cut that stuff, whatever else. So you've got your voice. That's the only thing you've got. And I think that's why I kind of legit believe that hip hop in general is actually a voice for the people. And that's why I think it's become the most dominant form of music, because it speaks to that part. It's built on authenticity, and just you feel like you know the person because they're effectively speaking to you, right? I know a lot of people back in the day would say rap music is not music, it's just people talking over beats.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, yeah, and they're talking to you, but they're talking in the way that poets talk. There's rhyme, there's structure, there's rhythm, there's all these other things that convey how they're really feeling to you. that if they took the music away and they just sat and spoke to you and told you how they felt, you probably wouldn't listen to them, right? But they they get listened to, they get heard, they get seen when they put it down in rhymes, when they put it down in bars. And I think that's always kind of been a thing for me. I always kind of needed an outlet like that to express myself.
Well, the key question is, why do you need an outlet? What were you going through as far back as you can remember? So I understand that, it was a bit chaotic, as you said. You probably needed space. So as far back as you remember, why was life so chaotic?
I think it's probably virtue of growing up in like an immigrant household. You know what I mean? Like my parents came over when they were about 5 years old. And so they would have had their own dual identity crisis of being South Asian and growing up in England and juggling that with their British identity. And then that becomes a generational thing, which then passes down, trickles down to me and my generation. And, there's just this kind of cultural chaos. It's just a part of, I guess, who we are, which has then been brought over, from the quote unquote homeland, where, to an outsider, they might think, do you guys even like each other?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, this is how we communicate with each other. It's, you kind of had to, you had to be funny to survive, because you had to learn how to talk back when people were, just getting at you.
As they say, they used to call it character building.
Exactly. That's what they would have said to us, right? It's like, this is character building. You just pick yourself up and you don't take things so seriously and whatever else. But as a human being, sometimes you will take things seriously and you'll put it in your back pocket and not address it. And then you hide behind this veneer of always joking.
Yeah.
Barbs all the time, just constantly back and forth. And you're so quick with it, but it's because you're not dealing with, these other feelings that you would just get as a human being from, these people are your caregivers, these people are your family, your providers, but they're not showing that in the ways that you might think you need as a child. And so I guess growing up for me, it was a chaotic environment like that. I also we then moved to a very predominantly white areas, which again is it's a thing for immigrant families, where it's like you aspire to move to places like that because
you think it's a status mark, and then that means you're one of everybody, and you're going to be accepted. It's a story that is actually very common, but not many people talk about it, especially what people have to go through. So how did hip hop then play a part, especially moving to an all white area, unless you met Eminem or something?
Nah. Well, funnily enough, like I had this friend at school, and I remember he was obsessed with Eminem. I hadn't really heard any rap music at this point. It was all Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, and whoever else my dad was playing, and then all the Indian music that my mum and my daddy played, daddy being grandma. And I remember he just would quote these lyrics, and he did one part, he did it like really fast, and I remember being like, wow, how did he do that? There's no way I'm ever going to be able to do that in my life. And I remember, my mom was pretty strict growing up, and I'd be scared to ask her for anything, let alone like a CD with like a little advisory sticker on it, and she didn't know what that meant. So I kind of used that to my advantage, and I was like, oh, I don't know what that means.
I mean, just so, in my opinion, Indian moms, African moms, same thing.
Yes, exactly.
Same thing. They say, as far as I'm concerned, wherever they go to university, they learn like some motherhood tricks that they're supposed to do on your kids, which is just normal. So it's when I talk about my parents and people talk about African parents are strict, I mean, I see it as normal.
Yeah.
By the time you're about, well, for me, by the time I was about maybe 6, 7, 8, I was already trying to devise methods to avoid it, and you know when your mom is going to shout. But it's funny how it still affects people differently. Especially, I believe if everybody's strict, then nobody's strict.
Yeah.
But if somebody's strict in an environment when you have other parents that are not strict,
yes,
it actually affects people. So was that a case for you, in the sense that, because you could go to school and Jimmy, who was in the white neighborhood, would be talking about how he was grounded, and then you have to talk about how they picked you up by your ear and then twisted. This is my story.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
Something like that. So it affects people more than they think. Would you say you fall into that realm?
Yeah. I think it kind of yeah, I saw it as normal growing up.
Yeah.
You know, it was like that example you just gave. You know, my white friends would say certain. I mean, the way that they would talk to their parents was crazy, and I'd be like, "How?
How are you still alive?
How are you exactly?
How are you still alive?
Even the thought of saying that to my mom, even now, as a grown man,
Yeah, you're still like
there's
thinking,
still
looking left and
something.
right, like somebody's going to pop up from the shadows.
It's like she can hear me
Yeah.
from wherever she is on the planet.
She's gonna watch this, right?
She's gonna watch this, and and she's gonna.
Hi, mama.
Yeah, she's gonna claim that, you know, I don't know why they see me like this. I don't know why they see me like this. You know, there's all this like selective amnesia, but yeah, I think it was kind of like that. There was a big kind of clash between, you know, you're a kid and you're in this environment, and you're not really seeing things in terms of like race and culture. You're just seeing things as, do I fit in? Do I not?
Yeah.
And you want to fit in, and there's a bit of a barrier to entry, because also, you know, these kids are talking about things that you weren't privy to, because you come home and there's no Western music, it's all Indian music or Indian TV channels and whatever. So you're kind of out of the loop with that stuff. They talk about like, oh, why don't you just ask your parents for this and that? Why don't you just do this? Or why don't you say this? And it's like, bruv, are you crazy?
It doesn't work like that.
I used
to one of the ideas I used to have as a kid was to do child swapping,
right?
Just to see how it would change. I mean, I didn't grow up in England, so
right.
But even then, back home, you had like I grew up in Nigeria, and you still had, if as I said, if everybody's strict, then nobody's strict. But then you had that one parent that was a bit more Western than the rest, and their child is talking about, oh, we had dinner on the sofa and stuff. I'm like, who let you do? I mean, there's something wrong with your dad.
Shoes on the bed.
Oh, Lord have mercy. You won't have legs. Yeah. But yeah. So how did you get the courage to then get the Eminem album?
I don't know. I can't remember. I think what I did was I played on my mum's ignorance of these things and was like, oh, I don't really know what this means. I think it's because of this.
Yeah.
I didn't really know how to describe it, and I just did it. And then I think I threw in a couple other ones, but they were like R&B albums. They don't have the sticker on it. They're, you know, they're singers, so it's safe.
All right.
It's all right. Yeah. And at this point, it would have been like, you know, rap music. They talk about this and they swear. You know, my mom was, you know, my mom did this funny thing where she'd be like, "How can you even listen to these artists? They're just talking gibberish." But she was able to pinpoint
when they
swear, and especially, and I understand this one more so now, but when they would call like women like hoes or bitches or whatever, she was like,
ding,
Vulcan ears, and I get it. I understand why on a kind of deeper level now, looking back at it, that you know, that must have been kind of crazy for her to have like 3 boys. You don't really know what kind of men they're going to mold into.
Yeah.
And then for them to be listening to this music where they're actively denigrating these women, and it's like, oh, are they going to pick up on this language? Are they going to listen to me because they probably listen to their dad more?
Yeah.
You know, I'm outnumbered in this house, all this sort of stuff. And scale it up to a big South Asian household where women are like, there's a gender inequality, right, in general. So, you know, but I think she handled it very well in hindsight. But yeah, I mean, I'm always glad that I mean, they confiscated that shit from me afterwards, man. Like, my 50 Cent albums were like gone for a while.
No. There was no way of getting that. My love for music comes from my parents, because they used to listen to all sorts different things, and so my array of listening to blues, 60s rock, classical. Because my parents had like a very different array of music, but for some reason when it came to rap, I think it was, and I think it becomes, because it comes from this American mindset of it's gangster stuff and, you know, all that, you know, I got shot 10 times and all those funny stories. And as you said, parents always wonder, what are these kids actually listening to? Yeah. So you definitely have some sort of rebellion threat, because, I mean, considering the fact that the rap was taken away from you, you still wanted to do it.
Yeah, big time. And I'm really happy that my younger self had that. And didn't just kind of be like, oh, well,
I'm not going to do this.
That was fun while it lasted. And just kind of, let's stay the path now. Do you know what I mean? Let's stick the course. I was very much not on that. And I remember there was a big gap in time because all my CDs got taken. and my mum had like an iron fist about that sort of stuff. And then I remember, funnily enough, I started actually doing quite well at school during that time. And it's always funny to me that because I had nothing else. I was like, well, what am I going to do? I might as well just
let me get good grades now.
Yeah, I'm in these classes with people I didn't really know. I got put in like, this is when you step up at a different part of school and you get mixed up in your classes and stuff. I was with people I didn't really know that well. And so I was like, yeah, what else am I going to do? And I just thought, fuck it, I'll just do this, I guess. Yeah. And that was like my main motivation. But then one guy came up to me and he was like, didn't you used to like write like rap lyrics and stuff like that? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, freestyle for us then. And just in that moment, I was like, I have a choice to like just do this or just be like, nah, that's not me anymore. And I went and did it because obviously my ego was like activated. There were girls about. It was like, I got to do this.
The downfall of many men.
Yeah, right, exactly. But I think in hindsight, it's
it raised you. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
At that point.
But I did it and it just sparked this thing back up in me again. I remember during that time when I was getting like, I was just, getting down at school and just doing it, whatever. But I was like, might be a bit hyperbolic, but I was a bit dead inside. I wasn't doing anything. There was nothing to me.
Is this because you didn't see you going anywhere?
Yeah, I was just like, this is dead. This is boring. Like, there's no spark. It's like, okay, cool. I'm getting like grades. My mom and dad are happy for once. And then it's like, so what? Do you know what I mean? Then as soon as I did this again, it was like the same feeling, like where it left off. The spark just activated. And then from then on, I was just freestyling all the time. It's like it was all just drifting in the back of my head and I pushed it there. Now it was back to the forefront. And yeah, from then on, just kept that shit going. And then as I got older, I just tried to like finesse ways to like build a studio and figure out how to record things. You know, there's this game for the Xbox, not Guitar Hero, there's one called Rock Band.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they used to give you a microphone you plug into your Xbox. And I used to just take that, plug that into my laptop and just try and like, just hope and pray that it work. Obviously the quality was terrible. But I would just find beats and just make my own versions of the songs. And then slowly over time, I learned how like, oh, this microphone does this. And if you use this, you get a better quality. And so, I'd have to like finesse my dad was the, you're talking about strict and more relaxed.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, my dad was the good cop. But he just wasn't around as often. He was working a lot. And so when he was around, you spend time with him. And I'd be like, oh, he'd be asking me what I want for my birthday. I'd be like, oh, I want this little mixing desk. And he's like, what does it do? I'm like, I'm just making up shit because, he's very practical, very pragmatic. Yeah. And I'll just make it up and then I'll just wait a couple months and be like, okay, I need this microphone now. All right, cool, Christmas present, microphone. And it's like, fuck, I need wires to put it all together. Shit, okay, I'm try and figure that out somehow because, if I told him I'm building a studio or I want to do this or I want to make like music, it would have been cut from the beginning.
But here's a trick, boys and girls. For immigrant parents, just do well in school and everything else will fall. As long as my parents used to go, if you can do anything you want to do in this world, as long as your grades are good.
My parents used to say that too.
And there was a problem for me because my grades were terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
My grades were terrible, so I couldn't even use that as an excuse.
So were mine. Yeah.
So I would suggest that you're a bit of a very patient individual, slowly building, using birthdays and other things to get the equipment. You worked on your parents' good cop, bad cop. My parents were like bad cop, bad cop. In fact, like in movies where you have dirty cops. Those are my parents. They were like dirty. That's how it was. So I find it very well. I remember when we met. Shout out to Iken, a friend of ours, mutual friend, and he said, "Oh, I saw this guy KaeDee, man. He's sick. It's this. You need to get him on the show." And then when you came to the show, when I saw you downstairs, I didn't even know it was you initially. I remember I was making fun of like, where's your friend? I gave you 2 tickets on there.
Yeah.
And then I listened to the music. How do you go from igniting that spark then, because you produce as well?
I used to produce a bit, but I kind of fell out of that bag a little bit.
So with how did that all come together to be KaeDee that you are today?
I guess it just was over time. It was just building up that kind of studio and that muscle of like recording myself and it just sounding terrible, but just all right, figure something out, do a bit of research, figure something out, try again, keep going. Obviously, over time, you get a bit more money, you get a bit more independence, and you get a bit more kind of clarity. And so, like, I stopped trying so hard and whatever else, and then suddenly things flow into place. The songwriting gets better, etc., etc. And obviously, like, I kept up with hip hop as it was happening, but I also went back and listened to a lot of the classic stuff as well. Like, I am a big fan of the 80s and 90s era of hip hop, and that kind of helps provide a foundation as well for, like, okay, this is where we're at now, this is where it came from. So there's like a broad kind of understanding of the art form, also the history behind it, the culture behind it. And I think just doing it constantly. And I know a lot of artists, they always give this advice where it's like, just keep going, just keep writing. But genuinely, working at your craft is the biggest thing that you can do, because it will just build that muscle in the same way that training and going to the gym does, right? In the same way that going to therapy does, but for your mind. You build your craft by doing it, right? And that's all I did. I would just keep doing it. And if I failed, I just kept doing it again and again, to the point now it's like a muscle memory, second nature.
You said when you started, the quality wasn't that great. Maybe some of your rhymes weren't that great. When do you get to a point where you actually believe that what you're doing is good enough?
There's probably a few moments where I thought, oh yeah, this is it. No. And then when the next moment comes, you're like, oh, I can't believe I thought that was it.
I can't believe I used to do that.
Yeah, literally.
I know musicians and artists, they're usually their biggest critics.
Yeah.
And you always, because it's always interesting to understand, where do you, at this point, why do you now believe, okay, I'm at this certain point? Who were your influences at the time? I know you've mentioned Eminem, 50, you like the old stuff, but who, when it comes to rap, who are the go-to guys, the guys that you look up to in terms of how you write or how you want to deliver?
Probably Nas. He's probably one of my favorite rappers, like, of all time. I can't begin to explain how amazing Nas is as a lyricist, as a rapper, and even to this day, like the albums that he's dropped in the last few years, where he's locked in with Hit Boy, just with one producer. Those albums are like consistently of such good quality, and yet he's an artist who debuted in the 90s. So he's also not just a great lyricist and great rapper. He's also showcased that he's got longevity, and that rappers can have longevity in the same way that artists in other genres can. That they can tour when they're 70. So Nas, Kendrick, obviously, Kano's a big influence of mine as well. Chip, Wretch Free 2. Low-key, Ocean Wisdom, I really like him. There's so many. Loyal Kana. There's a guy called Kofi Stone who I really fuck with. There's so many. J. Cole.
Oh yeah. He's coming to London.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, I think he has a show soon, or not soon, but at least they've released tickets. That
would make sense. I think he's got a new album coming.
Yeah, he's coming to. I'll go and see if I can get him on Korak. Be kicked out of that O2 with so much power.
You don't ask, you don't get, man.
Yeah. So one of the things, when did your parents finally accept that this was your dream?
Probably never.
They still think it's a hobby.
No. I think my mum actually probably accepted it a bit sooner than my dad. I don't know. I don't think there was a moment where they just accepted it. I think there was a moment where they realized, well.
Oh, when did you get comfortable talking to them about shows and things that you do?
I think I've always, no, I've not always been comfortable about it, but I think maybe in the last few years, I felt more solidified in what I did, that I would just say it to them. Just like, yeah, I'm doing a show and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And my mum, will always listen to it. My dad says he listens to it as well. But my mum gives the feedback, which is interesting, based on everything I said before.
Yep, which is actually, she's adapting and accepting.
Yeah.
I think she's gotten to the point where I think there's that release point where parents just go, okay, I've done everything I can do here now.
Yeah, exactly.
He or she is their own person, so
exactly. Yeah,
I'm just here to assist, which is really cool.
My dad's given feedback too, not to like discount him. It took him a bit longer, I think.
I've always, I mean, I can sing or rap to save myself, but I always wondered if I was in that situation where what my parents would say, no, no, my dad and mom, they'd be like, yeah, terrible. I can see it coming. A few
My mum
questions.
would, yeah.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
mum would, yeah.
They'll say it's putting you on your toes.
Yeah,
A few
exactly.
questions though about I want to ask about rap. So, how do you see rap in the UK? Rap is actually very young. I think rap is not even up to 60 years. It's not even up to 55 years old. But in terms of the evolution of music and with different genres, you mentioned or you said at the beginning that rap is the most dominant genre. Do you think that in the UK? Do you think rappers have the same level of respect with other genres?
I don't know. I guess it depends also on a generational level.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that generation is probably who's contributing towards all the data that we see to say that, oh, this is the most streamed genre of music. Probably because, you know, my generation and maybe younger, maybe a bit older are the ones who are actually streaming music, whereas maybe older people are still using their physical media that they had or whatever else. So I don't know about respected. I think overall, I think there still is this, in the UK, there still is this kind of bias against rap music. And I mean, I think it was only a few years ago when they tried to like ban drill music, for example. And then people always pick like a poster boy. So whoever's the most popular rapper and who's got the biggest hits that like play in the clubs, they'll just be like, oh, what, like Central C. And they'll just clown him and use him as the poster boy for this is why this whole genre of music is so like trash, or it's just a bunch of nothing. But it's so varied. All those artists I listed earlier, they're so different from one another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think it is much more respected now. When I was at school, listening to rap music was just like you actually just got clowned for it. I had a select few friends who were into it. Everyone else, it would just be like, it's trash. I've seen some of those people since, as like we got older, and I've just gone to certain things where it's like, oh, I bumped into people, and it's like that's their music that they listen to, and I'm like, this is crazy.
I mean, like, they had to join the club.
Exactly, at some point.
How have you dealt with the evolution of rap? Because you go from, you mentioned you like the 80s, 90s, and then you go from listening to Nas and maybe Snoop Dogg's and J. Cole, and then you go through listening to maybe drill in the UK, and then mumble rap, which cracks me up, which is, I mean, the most impressive thing for me with mumble rap is the fact that people actually know what the other person is saying.
Right.
Which is, you know, and because all I hear is hamalaba, hamalaba, hamalaba. Yeah. How does that evolution help your music? Do you pick and choose how to sound like, what to sound like, what era of music to blend in? How does that help you?
I guess like, you know, I'm pretty open-minded when it comes to the different types of like hip hop music or rap music. So like with the whole mumble rap thing, I didn't really get it, but that's more because it just didn't resonate for me. But if, you know, certain things connect, like the beat's right and the flow's right, I know that they're not trying to be lyrical, and I don't need that all the time as well. Then I'm like, okay, cool. I can vibe with this. And actually, I think like it's almost inevitable that like a genre that's predicated on words and your voice and everything else is gonna try and it keeps reinventing itself, right? There was always, I think, going to be a point where people tried to just rap without saying actual words and just focused on the flow. I think that's almost like an inevitable like branch of it, right? It's doing all these weird linguistic shit, but let's do some vocal shit where it's almost like, I don't know, like jazz, like scatting and stuff. Like let's just make some noise and see if it works. Obviously, I guess it did work for some people. It doesn't really work for me, but you know, actually, funnily enough, I think you can get some really interesting like flow patterns and stuff like that. Like the way you rhyme over the beat when you're not locked into actually having to say and articulate words, and you're just using your voice. Like I know there's rappers like Tion Wayne, who he shared his process on how he makes a lot of his songs, and he shows that he just has the beat and he just mumbles like the flow,
and
then he adds the words afterwards. And someone like Getz, who I really, really like as well, I forgot to mention him earlier, he says that if he's writing for a song, I think he said it in an interview with Kano, he said that if he's writing for a song that he knows is meant to be like more of a mainstream song, if like someone's asked him to be on this song and it's like, it's obviously a commercial one or whatever, he'll do that same thing. He'll just like mumble a flow because it's more about the feeling. And then he'll put the words in there. And because it's more, you know, people aren't going to sit and dissect it. It's more about how does it sound.
Yeah.
But when he's writing his own shit and it's like, I'm trying to convey something, then it's like, all right, we're going to like map out how I'm going to say this and what word's going to rhyme here and what analogy, metaphors and whatever am I going to use. And so I think there's like so much you can pull from that. Obviously, some people mumble into their phones and then release that.
It's good for dancing because you don't even have to start thinking about the lyrics.
No, exactly.
You just start moving up and down.
Exactly.
You mentioned therapy, and we live in today's world where a lot of people are, you know, unpacking things they might have gone through. People believe therapy should be a normal way of life, talking about certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, your music is very therapeutic. It sounds like you're talking about a lot of things happening.
Mm.
What made you turn to therapy? Even with you having the opportunity to release it through your music, what made you decide I need to speak to somebody about things that happen in my life?
I think it's a nice artsy, you know, whatever thing to say, like, oh, you know, music is my therapy, my art is my therapy. But I don't know if it's actually a substitute for genuine therapy. And I think I learnt that, to answer your question, when my brother started doing therapy and he unpacked a lot of his stuff, which, you know, there'll be some overlap because we all grew up under the same dictatorship, which was my mum. And so, you know, there's going to be some overlap there, right? And I feel like apologizing now because I know my mum's going to watch this. I got the same physiological response. Like, yeah, it's just AI. This ain't me. I'm not actually saying this. No, but like, I think back in 2021, there's been a couple of times in my life where I've just suddenly had like a breakdown or a drop, and I've gone into like anxiety mode where suddenly, you know, I don't care about doing anything. I don't want to do anything. I don't even know, like, you wake up in the morning, you're like, what's the point? You can't get out of bed. You're like, it's like you're just one with the bed. You can't get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it happened in 2021, I thought I was beyond it now. I thought, okay, those were a couple moments that happened in my life. I'm pretty sure like I'm more resilient.
Now, yeah.
I'm stronger now. Yeah, obviously not. And that really led me to kind of, I was always interested in psychology and whatever else because I studied it at uni, partly. But it really showed me how deep and complex your mind really is, and you're just how the structure of your psyche and everything. And I had a full mental breakdown, which doesn't look the way people think it does from the outside.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just suddenly go crazy running up the walls and have to be like sectioned or anything like that. It can happen silently. So someone could be looking at me while I'm having a breakdown and not even realize it. And it's all happening internally. And at that time, I also didn't have the language to describe it. And I remember just going through probably some of the worst like moments of my life, just internally. And I think at that point, I was like, okay, chatting to my brother about it. And he was like, this sounds like anxiety. This sounds like depression, which, you know, there can be two sides of the same coin. Honestly, like, try therapy. And so I did. And I tried the avenues, went through the NHS and all this sort of stuff. They put you on 6-month waiting lists and whatever else. And then I went private because I was like, fuck it. If my money's going to go anywhere,
let it at least go for this.
At least they go for this. And so I tried with a couple of therapists. I didn't really vibe 100% with them. I realized that I just needed someone to talk to. I didn't need all the CBT stuff, which, you know, I'm not invalidating it. It works for some people. It just wasn't for me. I just needed someone to talk to every week where they facilitated a safe environment for me to just literally let loose. And, you know, since I even those other therapists doing that helped me rebuild myself, learning about how this sort of stuff works, tools that I can use, etc. And then, yeah, a couple years later, big shifts happened in my life. I basically upended my life in 2022, and I went and moved, like stayed on my brother's sofa. I left where I was living. I left the person I was seeing, and I just was like, fuck it. I didn't really have anywhere to live. I was just jumping sofa to sofa, going up to Leicester where all my family, extended family live, sleep on their sofa, and just, go back and forth, all these things. And at some point when I started to settle in again, I tried therapy again. And now I'm with the same therapist. And it's been amazing. It's just like, it's fully changed me, not in a way that it's made me a different person, but it's brought out the person I always should have been.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's why it's really important. I think people really underrate what it can do for you because they think it's just talking. But talking's powerful. Talking is necessary.
I think it comes from a mindset of where people think, especially for men, where if you do all this, you're weak. You know, why you be talking to? I mean, I've never done it. I'm a big believer that something doesn't have to be wrong before you do it.
Yeah.
If you just feel you want to let it out there, but if I do it, I'm hoping I can find a female therapist. I don't know why I said that, but hey, these things happen.
I have a female therapist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good, nice. I'll come with you just to see what the story is. So we're going. Speaking about therapy, so we're going into what we call deep dive of lyrics.
Okay.
Pick a particular song, a song that I find as one of the favorites, and we go through it, and you explain exactly what was happening, what you're going through.
Okay.
So now, first of all, you're performing on 26th of February. So everybody's performing on Korak. Before you actually go live, I rinse and rinse. See your streams on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
When you see that it's gone up by 1,000, that's me.
Oh, okay. I was wondering.
Yeah, I've been listening over. First of all, man, too many hits, bro. Too many hits. JADED. Go listen to that song.
JADED.
But
from the new EP, which is out now.
There you go. But then my favorite EP is Sunset Therapy Volume 3.
Okay.
That's like hit upon hit upon hit. And as I said, it was a proper therapy session because every song is leading with a lady talking about...
that's my sister.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
She's coming for the show, right?
I don't know. She lives in Leicester. She
come for the show.
I keep telling them, but they don't come.
So it is... And then she's talking you through, what's happening, and every song is going. The songs you had with Give Them What They Want, party jam, man. Anyway, but this song I actually picked was No Motive on Wednesdays.
Okay.
Now that's it's one of them songs that I'm listening to it and I'm like, this is heavy. Very, very heavy. So it starts with saying, they always wonder, I'm stiff, no smiles, and a strict upper lip. Well, hear me out. When I was growing up, a kid, I was judged every time. Yeah, maybe just a bit. But I'll let you clowns run around with your fake-ass smiles, being loud, and imposing a way of life that I don't need but you have chosen. From afar might be weird, but it walks so far. Now I've spoken. Yours, brah. F nah. It's kind of broken. Don't be texting me midweek. Let's meet. Beard's getting messy and my hair's getting thick. Keep looking at myself like, F no, is this me? How scared the trim be? Say it's cray. Can I get it done each week? Nah, you can trace it all the way back through my history. Gotta get my trim for the week. Lay my clothes out nice so they are neat. Face clean, keep the white on my teeth. Well groomed from my eyes to my feet. No motives on a Wednesday. So, break that down for me. I mean, I get it and I understand it. Obviously, listening to the song, it all talks about having to be somebody that you're not, pretty much, just to pretty much entertain a set of friends that you have.
Yeah.
But the way you have placed it and the way you listen to the music, no motives of Wednesday, people, break it down for me.
So, I guess what I'm saying in a lot of that, especially in that first verse, is, I in equal kind of weighting get complimented for the way I present myself, but then also questioned on like, why does your trim always look fresh? Or why is this? And, how do your clothes look so this and whatever. And it's like, what I'm trying to kind of say in the song is that there's a bit of a, I guess, a dichotomy there, because it's like, it's a good thing. Yeah, it's obviously good to check how you present yourself and whatever else, but it does come from a place of, I guess, fear, which would have come from my childhood, which, bringing it back to, you know, being in a predominantly white community, I think there's like a lyrics later where it's like, you know, imagine me, a little brown boy, getting curry jokes, wonder if it's true, but keep it to the chest when I hurry home. And they laugh like it's funny, bro. And they say, you know, I can't remember the exact lyric, but effectively being the only like brown kid in that environment or in that school, you would just get things like, you know, curry jokes all the time, or that, you know, your dad's a terrorist, or like, you know, oh, so, you know, at your house, do they like worship cows and stuff like that? You know, it's just like, fuck. And it's like, also, where are you getting this from? You know, and then we can go into the whole media representation thing and whatever else, and whatever their parents might be saying too. So this comes from this this need from when I was younger to make sure I was always 100% on point, so that no one could nitpick anything about me and about my, you know, it's not even just for me. It's like I'm protecting my cultural heritage as well, because, you know, for white people, they can go out and be individuals. No one, you know, one white person does something bad, they're not all tarred with the same brush. Black or brown person goes out and does something bad, and they're all tarred with the same brush. That's what they're all like. And that's kind of how it felt a lot of the time growing up. And so you almost feel like and it's exhausting. You feel like a representative for your whole community when you should just be a representative for yourself. And so in there, I'm kind of setting up and explaining why getting the trim is so sacred. And I would usually get it on a Thursday or Friday, because that's before the actual motives happen on the weekend. No one sees me when it's grown in, right? Except for, you know, my partner, family members like my brothers who I live with. But if I'm out and about, there's no way that you're going to see me with my, and it's probably not, probably doesn't even look that bad.
Yeah.
But for me, it feels like that, you know, my clothes aren't, my laundry's not done, bro. Like I'm not just picking any clothes out of here. I got to make sure I know what I've got. I need my beard to be on point. I need everything to be on point. And then that song was kind of almost to me as well, as much as it is to anyone else, because it's like, do you feel like you still need to do this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it goes on with no motives on a Wednesday. Hit me up when you're going out the next day. No motives on a Wednesday. Hibernating till I'm going out the next day. Imagine me, a little brown boy, getting curry jokes. Wonder if it's true. But I keep it to the chest when I hurry home. Good times, but they are solid true. When you realize that some of them were mates who would say, calm down, it's just funny, bro. So now it's routine heavy. Beard, hair, done, what a beauty. Getting on my wave, sprayed down. Pick my shoes, be ready. Nails ain't yellow from the stains, eating good, hit the gym, walk bears, better lose this belly. All this pressure, all this effort. For my family and friends to impress them, at my core, man, I'm still a young boy who's putting in the work so he doesn't feel lesser. Pick the right colors for my melanin, or I'm going all black till get a trim. Gotta get my trim for the week, lay my clothes out nice so they're neat, face clean, keep the white on my teeth, well groomed from my eyes to my feet. No motives on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Bro, that's as much as when you listen to the song, it's a clear understanding of what's happening. But when you actually read it out, it is, it's a lot of pressure you put on yourself in terms of trying to eradicate any possible question.
Yeah.
Did it work?
Did it work?
Did you ever feel, when you laid out everything, looking all sharp, trim, you know, and then you went out, did you actually go out at some point not having it at the back of your mind?
Not having it in the back of my mind. Probably, yeah. I think at some point. But I don't think it was from doing all that routine heavy shit that I'm talking about in the song. It probably came more from one, writing the song and expressing it, seeing it, hearing it back and being like, wow, that is a lot of pressure. But when it's in your head, it's just normal. It's just like, yeah, of course, I'm looking after myself. But it's like, there's looking after yourself, and then there's like doing too much. And also therapy. helping me realize that I don't need to account. The world might also not be the same as it was when I was younger, and I'm just running on the same script. So, more recently, it's not that I take less care. I just
Don't care.
relax a little bit. Yeah, I at the fundamental core, I care less. I'm just like, so what if they think that, the whole nails not yellow from the stains, that's a thing that South Asian people go through because of the food that we eat at our parents' house or my daddy's house or whatever. It still happens from time to time if I go and visit, and it will bother me. But then I'm like, who cares, man? Do you know what I mean? I think that's the key part. It's not that having that super like strict routine and making sure that it's like that all the time. It's not that didn't suddenly make things better. It helped me survive for a bit. It helped me feel better in the moment. But now, all the therapy, all the, questioning myself and asking myself, is this necessary? That's what actually helped me to care less.
Well, there you go, people. Deep dive lyrics. Go listen to the album. As I say, it's my favorite.
Thank you.
And well, it's I mean, rappers are deep, but you're like deep.
Right.
Yeah, so like it's one of those you're losing air. But I like it. I like it. It's when you going through everything that you're going through now, and the way your music is very therapeutic. When you get to because you sound like you're getting to a very good point where everything is just chill, everything is okay. What will you then rap about?
That is a good question. Because, well, again, life's not a linear path. Healing's not a linear path either. There's a lot of like branching moments. And it's not like you get to a point where you're just fully healed. So JADED was me talking about a particular time in my life. And I don't usually do that. I usually talk from the present day. This was me going back into just about a year or so ago of like, this is the kind of shit I was on. And now it's like, I've done that. Now I can look back at it and be like, wow, you're so different now. Take a song like Tempted and how it's like, you're in this environment, you're in this situation where someone is with someone else, but then, you become the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of rappers would, do the typical kind of, I'll take your girl kind of lyrics and whatever else. And yeah, I would do those too. And there's reasons that I did that also because of shit that happened to me in the past and whatever else. And it's like a reclaiming of that. And for me to write that song and just be like, no, I'm not getting involved with this. You have your own shit to deal with. That's why I'm here. I'm a prop in your story. I'm not going to be that. Well, I'm also going to not be that for my own self. Like, I don't need that kind of validation anymore. Writing it from that newer, mature perspective, it was like, all right, that's done. No more of that sort of shit anymore because I'm not that person anymore. Or like, sabotage, really like diving into what it's like when I'm on my own.
Yeah.
And what it's like going through my head. So now, yeah, I'm getting to this point where a lot of that is easing up and whatever else, but it's still a journey to go on. And if anything, I've told myself that actually I want to be, I know I've already been honest in the songs, but I want to be more honest and really like dive into some stuff that I maybe might talk about if we're, sitting here chatting to each other, but I maybe haven't put down like on wax, like through my pen. And already some of the stuff that I've been writing recently, I've even gone back to writing on my, by hand.
Yeah.
And it's changed even the way that I approach it. It feels like I'm journaling, which then also brings out some of the deeper stuff that I wouldn't normally put into my music. I feel like all that stuff, the Sunshine Therapy volumes, the JADED EP, all of that sort of stuff, is kind of just scratched through layer one. I think there's way more to go. There's also a wider outlook, all the sociological stuff I talked about, the immigrant British dual identity stuff, it's a huge part of my upbringing and my thought process and whatever else, and I just touched on that slightly with No Motive on a Wednesday. Not Like You, Just Like You was one of the big songs on that that project that I really dived in deep into what my place within my community is like. And it's not as simple as just, yeah, I'm brown, you're brown, and we're in this together. It's, I'm brown, but am I the right type of brown for you based on your list of criteria? Because that's how it goes sometimes, you know. You're not brown enough, you're too white, but then you're not white enough for this group, and you know, all this sort of stuff. So there's more to jump into, I think.
Well, we'll be here to listen. It's Korak's footsteps. With each step you take, with there. Come down, people. 26th of February. Come and see this man perform live and tell the story through his original music. It's been nice, man. It's been therapeutic.
Yes,
I must say,
good.
therapeutic.
Good.
We have a closing tradition, Korak, and it is I'm creating a playlist.
Okay.
So you just pick a song you like to add to the playlist. It could be your song. It could be any song that you like. Just pick one and we'll add it to the playlist. I've said when I get to 100 of the songs, then I'll release the playlist.
Okay.
With everybody that's actually picked a song.
Okay. All right. And what happens if I pick a song and someone else has already added it?
I'll remember.
You'll remember.
Most people have very funny. What's it called? Sometimes they pick their own song. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, I remember this song when I was little, and boom. So any song, anything that comes into your head.
Okay. I will pick my favorite song of all time, which is Remember the Time by Michael Jackson.
I was listening to that on my way here as well. It's one of them things you're walking down and you're like, you know, everybody, when you listen to Michael Jackson, everybody believes they can dance.
Yes.
Every single person.
That is me to the T.
Yeah, like they're like,
the shoulder work is crazy.
Oh, you like it.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Remember the Time makes the list, people. And the very last question before we end is, what is your idea of success? What would success be to you in this music world?
Success would be a bunch of different things. So it would be having a solid fan base that engages and connects with my music in a way that it's something I can do without having to do anything else. I can sustain myself just through doing music alone. If I could go to a studio every day and just make songs and still be able to afford to live my life, that would be the life for me. Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, 26th of February, Korak Live Music 9. You can catch him on all platforms. And then come down, buy a ticket, bring a friend at 10. KaeDee, has been amazing. Thank you for being on Korak.
You're welcome.
And we shall... I like it. I like it. I like it. Well, there you go, people. Rapper KaeDee. Yeah. Big shout out to Podcast Rooms. And of course, great beans, great coffee, Caribbean coffee. Get your 20% off with the code MORETHINGS. I'm MC Sabi Boy. More things.